The concept of training your mind to respond rather than react is rooted in mindfulness and self-awareness. Reacting is often an impulsive, emotional, or automatic action driven by immediate thoughts or feelings. Responding, on the other hand, is deliberate and thoughtful, considering the situation from a broader perspective. By cultivating this skill, you create space between stimulus and action, allowing you to make wiser, more intentional decisions. This shift can lead to improved emotional regulation, stronger relationships, and a greater sense of control over your life. It's not about suppressing emotions, but learning to navigate them with clarity and purpose. The journey to mastering this mindset involves practices like mindfulness, self-reflection, and patience, tools that empower you to align your actions with your values rather than letting external triggers dictate your behavior. The idea of training your mind to respond rather than react comes from the practice of mindfulness and emotional intelligence. It emphasizes thoughtful, intentional behavior instead of impulsive, emotion-driven reactions. Here's a breakdown of this concept. 1. Reacting versus responding. Reacting is often instinctive and immediate. It's driven by emotions and past conditioning without much thought about the consequences. Example: if someone criticizes you, you might lash out defensively without thinking. Responding involves pausing, assessing the situation, and choosing a thoughtful and deliberate course of action. Example: in the same scenario, you take a moment to breathe, understand their perspective, and reply calmly. Hat 2. Why reacting can be problematic. Emotional overwhelm. Reacting is often driven by heightened emotions, such as anger, fear, or frustration, which can cloud judgment. Regret. Quick reactions may lead to actions or words you later regret. Escalation. A reaction can fuel conflict instead of resolving it, as it's usually defensive or aggressive. 3. Benefits of responding. Clarity. Responding allows you to approach situations with a clear mind and rational thought. Better relationships. Thoughtful responses foster healthier communication and reduce misunderstandings. Personal growth. Over time, learning to respond helps you manage stress, develop patience, and build resilience. 4. How to train your mind to respond. 1. Practice awareness, mindfulness. Cultivate self-awareness by observing your emotions and thoughts without judgment. Notice when a situation triggers a strong emotional reaction. Use grounding techniques such as focusing on your breath to create space between the trigger and your reaction. 2. Pause before you act. When faced with a trigger, pause before saying or doing anything. Ask yourself, what is the best way to handle this? Will this action lead to a positive outcome? 3. Regulate emotions. Use techniques like deep breathing, counting to 10, or stepping away temporarily to calm yourself. Journaling or speaking with someone you trust can also help process emotions constructively. 4. Evaluate the situation objectively. Separate facts from emotions. What actually happened versus how you feel about it. Consider the other person's perspective and what their intent might be. 5. Build empathy. Responding thoughtfully often involves understanding others' emotions and intentions. Empathy helps you craft responses that are compassionate and constructive. 6. Practice regularly. Responding takes practice, especially in emotionally charged situations. Start small, practicing this approach in minor conflicts or challenging conversations. Factor 5. Practical example. Scenario: someone cuts you off in traffic. Reaction: yelling, honking aggressively, or chasing them in frustration. Response: taking a deep breath, recognizing that their action might not be personal, and choosing to let it go. Conclusion: training your mind to respond rather than react requires consistent practice, self-awareness, and emotional regulation. Over time, it helps you become more composed, empathetic, and intentional in your actions, improving both your mental well-being and relationships with others. Training your mind to respond rather than react involves a deep psychological and emotional shift that requires ongoing effort and practice. Let's explore this concept in more detail. 1. The science behind reacting and responding. Brain mechanics. Reacting is largely controlled by the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for the fight or flight response. When you perceive a threat, your brain reacts immediately to protect you. Responding, on the other hand, involves the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for rational thinking, decision making, and impulse control. It allows you to evaluate the situation and make a deliberate choice. Trigger response loop. Triggers are events or situations that provoke emotional responses. Reaction is automatic, often bypassing logical thought. Response is the intentional act of creating space between the trigger and your action, allowing you to assess and choose how to proceed. 2. Why reacting feels natural. Reacting is a survival mechanism rooted in evolution. For early humans, immediate reactions were essential for survival, e.g., running from predators or fighting threats. In modern life, however, most situations are not life-threatening, yet the brain often treats emotional or social stressors as urgent threats, triggering unnecessary reactive behavior. 3. The consequences of reacting. Personal consequences, heightened stress levels, regret from impulsive words or actions, damage to self-esteem or relationships. Interpersonal consequences, miscommunication or escalating conflict, loss of trust and respect, creating unnecessary tension in professional or personal settings. POFOR, the power of responding. Responding puts you in control of your emotions rather than letting your emotions control you. It reflects maturity. You show the ability to handle challenges thoughtfully. Emotional intelligence. You navigate social situations with empathy and understanding. Strength. It takes strength to pause and choose a better path, especially under stress. 5 steps to train your mind. Step 1. Build self-awareness. Training your mind to respond rather than react involves a deep psychological and emotional shift that requires ongoing effort and practice. Let's explore this concept in more detail. This summary is an excellent guide to building emotional resilience and intentionality in your responses. It highlights how deliberate practices can transform impulsive reactions into thoughtful actions. Below are some additional clarifications and enhancements to ensure these strategies are easy to apply. Why these strategies work. 1. Pause and breathe. Breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, calming your fight or flight response. This gives your brain the space to engage the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and self-control. Key tip: pair deep breaths with a mental mantra, like stay calm, to reinforce intentional thinking. 2. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness helps you recognize your triggers early. When you're aware of your emotions in real time, you can intervene before they escalate. Key tip: use apps like Headspace or Insight Timer to develop a consistent mindfulness habit. 3. Label your emotions. Neuroscience research shows that naming your emotions can reduce their intensity. This process, called affect labeling, activates your rational brain and helps you feel more in control. Key tip: when labeling your emotions, try to be specific. For example, instead of "I'm upset," identify whether you're disappointed, frustrated, or embarrassed. 4. Reframe your thoughts. Cognitive reframing shifts your perspective, allowing you to see situations in a less personal or negative light. This helps in de-escalating emotional responses. Key tip: practice the 3-question test. Is this interpretation 100% true? Is there another explanation? How can I think about this more constructively? 5. Focus on the outcome. This strategy aligns your actions with your core values and long-term goals, promoting a sense of purpose and control. Key tip: write down your guiding values, e.g., kindness, patience, integrity, and revisit them when you're struggling to respond thoughtfully. 6. Practice self-compassion. Self-compassion helps you bounce back faster from reactive moments. By forgiving yourself, you reduce the mental load of guilt and focus on learning. Key tip: replace critical self-talk with supportive phrases like "I'm doing my best" or "mistakes are opportunities to grow." 7. Develop empathy. Empathy transforms conflict into connection. It allows you to see the humanity in others, even when they behave poorly. Key tip: when facing conflict, ask yourself, what might I not understand about their situation? Integrating long-term practices. Meditation. Meditation not only improves focus, but also helps you notice emotional patterns. Even 5 minutes a day can make a difference. Key tip: start with guided meditation specifically aimed at emotional regulation or responding to stress. Journaling: writing helps you identify emotional triggers and recognize patterns in your reactions. Key tip: at the end of each day, ask yourself, where did I react? Where did I respond? How can I do better next time? Practicing your responses in a safe environment builds confidence for real-life situations. Key tip: use a trusted friend or coach to simulate common triggers and rehearse calm, constructive responses. Therapy or coaching: professional guidance helps uncover deep-seated triggers and equips you with advanced tools for emotional regulation. Key tip: focus on identifying core wounds or unresolved issues that frequently lead to reactive behaviors. Application in real life. Here's another example to illustrate these concepts. Scenario: your partner forgets to do something important you asked them to. Reaction: you immediately snap, "You never listen to me," which leads to a defensive argument. Response: you pause to take a deep breath, acknowledge your frustration, and calmly say, "I was really counting on you to help with this. Can we talk about how we can handle it better next time?" By responding, you address the issue without creating additional conflict, opening space for collaboration and understanding. Building momentum. As with any skill, progress in responding instead of reacting comes through consistent practice. Start with small, manageable situations and celebrate your growth. Over time, you'll notice a profound change in how you handle challenges and relationships. This journey not only makes you more composed, but also fosters better outcomes in every area of your life.